Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming to Building Functional TTRPGs with F#. I'm Javk Danna. Thanks for coming, and LambdaConf has been awesome. I will definitely be back next year, and when this is completely done, I want to do one-shots here with everybody here, and so I'm going to try to recruit people for next year, train them to be narrators, because we don't have DMs, we have narrators, and run the game, but we'll see about that. So, who am I? I'm Javk Danna, like I said. I'm also known as Javk Wick. You've probably seen me on the Discord over on the Lovelace Enigma thing, but that's also one of my handles. It's my first D&D character's name, and I just stuck with it. I'm a software engineer from Kentucky, and my professional experience is building a bunch of mining, 3D blasting, and photogrammetry applications, and that is on desktop and on the web. And I've done some embedded stuff. I've run internship programs. It's been a bunch of different stuff. So we're talking about Fogent Roleplay today, which is, I'm the developer and creator, but we're gonna do a little backstory to get to there. So I want you to imagine, go back to kind of lockdown time. There's Jack, not a lot to do, sitting in his room, playing a lot of D&D with his friends on Discord, and I start world building. I have nothing to do, so I just spend the time world building, and I wanna make something for me and my friends to play in. And so I make Fallen, and that's like my world setting is supposed to be like, if you played The Witcher and Bloodborne, it's like a hodgepodge of the two. It's fun. I think it's fun. But my friends are like, hey, and we're all working on this collaboratively, we want to play in this game. We want to actually experience this world, right? And so we all know D&D, and so we're like, hey, can we run this with D&D? Or I guess I say that. And yeah, so I have some opinions about D&D. I love D&D, by the way, but I do also think that it wasn't the right fit for my game. So I think D&D is very similar from a programming perspective. It's like the C++ of TTRPGs. It has a lot of legacy things with it. It has this enormous influence on what TTRPGs are today. It maintains a bunch of D&D 1E stuff. I think it's fair to say that D&D is complex. It takes time to get into, not saying it's not worth to get into, but it is a little bit complex. And for new players, it can feel a bit overwhelming. The rules and the settings are pretty coupled. I know there are some homebrews you can do and some adventures that kind of decouple that, but it is mainly you are a fantasy adventurer, and that's what you are. You're a wizard, you're a knight, that's your job. There's a massive amount of add-ons onto it, so I almost think of that as libraries, all the different books. And it has tactical battle map combat, which I have to have in my TTRPGs to play them. That's one of my favorite things. So that's awesome and all, but I say, hey, can I look around and find something else? I want something that's kind of more innovative, something that's maybe trying some new stuff that I think is good. I want something that would be kind of elegant and intuitive to learn. Basically, if my mom can learn it, that means it was good. That's maybe not, I don't think that's that high of a bar, because my mom's pretty smart. So then I want it to be super open source. I don't want the OGL scandal that happened in D&D. I want to own my own IP. Cool. I want it to be narratively declarative. So I feel like a lot of times in D&D, and of course, D&D is one of those games where your dungeon master matters a lot, but I want to not be told how to use the rules and told how to play the game. I want to go ahead and me and my players describe with good vocabulary what we're doing in the world and have the rules account for that, and you basically just generate the conflict and resolve the conflict for us, right? I want it to be setting agnostic, and that's kind of composable, right? I want my setting to compose with my game rules, and then I have a complete package. And really flexible character creation is the same thing, right? Because if I want to be able to be an astronaut playing or if I want to play a Warhammer game, and I want to play the Witcher game, and I want to play, I don't know, Call of Duty game, I want to be able to compose those characters with the game rules and nothing breaks. I want it to be easily extendable. So if you add one small thing in, I don't want everything to break. Sometimes with balancing, it can do that. I would love it if there were plentiful tools like automated character sheets and tons of content. But I don't need the content because I'm okay with making it. And I want tactical battle map combat. Enter in Cogent Roleplay. So if you don't know what Cogent Roleplay, if anybody here knows Shad or Jazza Brooks on YouTube, they're two really big YouTubers, and they made this really awesome, I kind of consider it, if C++ and D&D, that was the comparison, this is almost like it's like a toy functional programming language. It has some awesome ideas. It's super innovative, and I'm gonna leave maybe to the questions because I could go into all this stuff forever, and I wanna get to the code stuff too. But it's super innovative, it hits all those green things. It doesn't have any automated character sheets, it doesn't have content. and it didn't work on a combat battle map, which is one of my, like, I have to have that. I want to have the cool battles and stuff. So, okay, I found my target. I can fix those two things. I'm a software engineer. I can make rules. Let's go doing that. So the first iteration is I go the quickest thing to deploy, which is a Google Sheet. And actually, it makes a lot of sense. So it's really fast ramp up. I was like, oh, it's infinite scale. Like I don't have to pay for any like servers or anything. This will be awesome. And it's cloud-based, so like everything's updated as it goes. I don't have to worry about, oh, if you change your character background over here, and then I don't have you give me that new sheet, then I don't know what your new backstory is, and I mess something up in the story. So it seemed like a really, really good idea. Okay, so if you don't know this, and the way we actually go ahead and automate this is on the back of every Google Sheet, there's basically an ability to run AppScript, which is just a subset. It's Google's subset of JavaScript. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. Well, I can still talk. So it's Google's JavaScript. It's got all the flaws of JavaScript. It's also not very well typed, kind of hard to do domains and model things, and the iterations are really slow because all of your all your code is being tested up on their cloud, and it's really slow. The APIs kind of suck. I was doing all the styling of the UI. So basically, I'm like indexing across this Google Sheet, and that's how I'm doing the UI. So that's the state and the UI of the application. It was, oh my gosh. And then it was inconsistent APIs. Oh my gosh. Like I remember multiple times when I would hit my calculate button, it starts running, and it's grabbing all this information from all these master sheets. Like it's dragging in all this information. And it stops working, and I'm like, oh. And I just go in and I start coding. I'm like, what's wrong with this? And there's nothing wrong. It was just that one Google API just randomly failed, and that was just it. And so, okay. So I'm like, okay, I can live with some things right now, but I really need typing. I want to be able to model the domain here. And I'm using TypeScript a lot at work, and I like TypeScript, but I really like F# too. So I'd use F# a little bit at work for a small project that never went anywhere, but I got really into the syntax. I love the language. For people who don't know about F#, give it a try. You'd be surprised. It's so cool. And the community is great. But there's a thing called Fable, and Fable lets me transpile my F# to JavaScript. And with a little bit of bundler magic and stuff, I was able to basically write all of my logic in nicely typed F# and bring it over and drag it onto the back of that character sheet, and everything was hunky-dory. It was great. And so here's some of the actually code conversions here. So you can see like dice pool there. So on the left, you got F#. On the right is JavaScript. There's nothing groundbreaking here, but I just think it's fun to look at. So there's that. And then here, this one's a little bit cooler. So you can see how it's taking it. It's always interesting. I bet that it could be the similar lines of code, but I always think that like the way it transpiles, it's a little bit weird there. But again, you don't really want to be looking at that. You're trusting that it's being transpiled. You don't ever look at that. You just go on your day. And you basically build like an interface, like a layer up at the top where you interact with stuff, but that's it. Okay, so I have all my pure logic over my F#. It's awesome. And the nice thing is I have this kind of ejector seat now where if I ever get sick of writing the UI as cells and having no control over any APIs and just kind of the developer hell you could expect, I can eject your seat. And so I do. And I get sick of it so fast. It was horrible. And I'm like, okay, I got to be done with this. I got to move on to the next thing. What can I do? So do you guys know about SafeStack? So Safe, it's Saturn, Azure, Fable, and Elmish. And essentially what it is it's a great way to do full stack web applications up completely in F#. It's really just kind of using a Fable to transpile everything and run it as a React app. You have the .NET ecosystem. You have interop with the JavaScript ecosystem. And if you guys don't know about MVU or Elmish kind of philosophy, it's really fun to work in. I really like I've done multiple types of state management across my professional career, and I really like MVU. There's prop drilling, but there's clever ways to actually get around it and to make it really kind of neat and stuff. And if you do ever end up doing any of this stuff, the Elmish book by Zaid is like, you have to read it. It'll help you so much. And what's really cool is because we do this kind of MVU architecture, so these two symbols at the bottom here, the one on the kind of leftish, that's Fabulous, and that takes an MVU architecture and makes it into a mobile app. and the only thing you have to replace is the view. Same thing with Avalonia UI. I can go to a desktop app, and just replace the view, and everything works. Okay, so I'm just going to teach you guys MVU really, really fast. So this is a module. It's neg 1 to 5. So this is literally bias stat that can go from -1 to 5. So this is for skills and stuff. I grab over from my library. And you generally want to put all of your information in a shared library and then drag it into the UI elements as you need it. The message I have here are the different actions I can take. So this would be if a user changed the -1 to 5 on a skill. And I'm building a component here. I'm going to use this in a couple different places. You give an initial state, you make an update function, and a view. So it's message, init, update, view. And the update's really simple too. All you're doing is you're taking in a message and a model, and you match. I'm assuming people like pattern matching. Who likes pattern matching? So that makes sense, right? Take and change -1 to 5. If I have a new value there, I go ahead, I run it through this little function there into -1 to 5 option. Because if I pass in -99, that should be none. I shouldn't handle that. I should just return state. Otherwise, I return the new state. Awesome. And then the view here is really simple, right? Just doing some Mac stuff. Fleas and fleas.bulma are just domain-specific languages for F# for writing HTML. So I make my first, and this is just the actual UI and the update logic and everything, but I make my first one, and I was really proud of it. So you got your core skills, your vocations, those are like your classes, destiny points, character effects, item effects, equipment list, all this stuff, and please do not comment on the look. It's a work, and like that was the last thing I'm gonna do because it's the least important thing at this point. So. Okay, so I do that the first time, and as I'm going through this process of F#, I realize, hey, the compiler is complaining at me, and the way I'm writing code is influencing the way I'm thinking about how I need to write the actual English rules. And I'm realizing that I'm slowly getting this kind of functional thinking thing under my brain, and it's like, it can't go away, and I'm realizing all these flaws. This is a great example of one. So on the left, you have the original rule, and on the right, we have the new rule. And actually, all we care about here is this one little section at the bottom. So essentially what I discovered is, when I was defining, because again, like I would love to talk to people afterwards if you want to nerd out about that part, but I was defining, how can I make it so with any kind of magic, if people want to, how could I simulate like a cone attack, right? And I had this really weird way of laying it out. It didn't follow any kind of standard. It had a text thing. It was not standardized at all. And what I didn't realize is that I could just use the weapon class template that I use for like normal weapons, like daggers and bazookas and flamethrowers. And literally, like a cone is just a flamethrower. Like if I can do a magic cone, that's just a flamethrower. And so I realized I could just, hey, let's just go ahead and let's not keep duplicating stuff. Let's compose stuff. Let's use the same thing over and over and over again, and let's build up our rules and just compose stuff. And so at the bottom there, this is the magic cone. And if you know how to read this table, then you should know how to read this table because all of your weapons work that way. Then you can also do all of your magic, and it's the same thing. And that was like, there's like 50 examples of this as I was like converting this over. So that was like a really fun moment when I realized functional thinking isn't just for programming, it's for probably any creative pursuit. So that was really fun. And so that's where the name comes from. So Fogent Roleplay, it was Cogent Roleplay, and F# gave me so much help that I was like, hey, you know what? And also it's funny because, I don't know, am I the one that thinks like the Cogent logo looks like the C++ thing? It's really close. And I was like, okay, whenever I do design the logo, I'm gonna mimic it after that, and then like there's some kind of, because it's not a one-to-one scale, but I'm gonna like do some kind of F cool thing, maybe like the original F# logo, but anyways. And to kind of show some coolness, the entire game, to know that I actually decoupled everything the right way. Oh, and by the way, like this entire time, I'm developing this under the Fallen name. By going through that last process, I was able to go ahead and completely decouple the setting from the game. So you can, at this point, run this whatever you want. You could do Space Marines, you could do The Witcher, it doesn't matter. And what's cool here, this data here, all this data, it looks like a lot, and it is, but this is all of the input to the character sheet. So like if I go here, damage types. These are all the damage types that exist in my current setting right now. And it's just text, and I just parse it. And so I can completely change the way that the character sheet behaves. So let's say I wanted to, a lot of people are angry, here, somebody will fight me about this. Where is my, there it is. So we technically only have 3 attributes. So we have strength, reflex, and intelligence. A lot of people love having a charisma stat. I think technically you can count it under intelligence, and we can have a nerd fight about why I believe that is. But theoretically here, I could just add more columns or rows here with charisma and that core skill, and it would just work. Okay. Does anyone have a nerd fight? I'll win. No. Okay. So some final.
The argument would be that your intelligence is not charismatic if you were arguing.
True, but so zombies aren't intelligent. They can't be charismatic at all. And like communication is one of the defining things of human beings. Like no other animal does that, and we're the smartest thing. So. See, the one thing I thought is you could do charisma stat if it was just looks, but everyone got angry. I'm like, well, your character's ugly if like you don't have a charisma stat. So. You can be charming, but if that person was way smarter, they could be even more charming. Because to a certain extent, like social interactions is pattern matching. Yeah, well, and that's the cool thing. If you want to run the game that way, you can. I'm going to make it so easy for people to add it in that you can do the game the way that you want. And that's totally cool. And nothing breaks. So, final thoughts. Thank you. Try F#. Like, I really want to emphasize how wonderful of an experience it was working in it. Like, if that syntax didn't scare you at all, you have that syntax plus the entire .NET ecosystem. It's awesome. It's really good. And the F# community, there's a Discord. Actually, I hope I linked it. If not, I'll paste it on the end. But it is amazing. They're super welcoming. Is it the most popular language on the planet? No, but to be honest, this was a fun side project, and I really enjoyed the language, and I wish more people would use it. Also, functional programming is a mindset. It's a tool. It can be applied in way more places than I think we originally thought, and I really think we should. I think actually for people in here who actually do it, you probably already realize this, but sometimes it's nice when people say things over again that you already know, and it just clarifies, so. And then, yeah, find a way to combine your passion with your programming. I feel like I've grown so much dramatically faster just working on this one little project and doing the entire thing myself than I would have ever otherwise, so. These are my links. That's me on LinkedIn. I am looking for opportunities and positions in functional programming, but if you want to play the game over here, these are the links to the character sheet. If anybody here wants to see it, I will show it to you and talk about nerd stuff, but that is my talk, and any questions? Question, go ahead. Oh.
Have you had a chance to run a session with this yet, or?
So with the character sheet, I tried to run one session, and actually it's funny, like I can revert it back if you guys, after the talk, I can sit down and show you guys everything, but like literally right before I came to LambdaConf, I'm like, oh, I found this new extern message thing to restructure my MVU to do this even better, and I'm yanking everything apart, and so like I have a stable branch, but there's also a screwed up branch. No, I've run the game a bunch, and actually the interesting thing is, so the way I know that I actually did some, like, I guess, UI research. So this is the Fogent Roleplay website. You can go here, you can read about it. You can see here, this is the settings, but here are the core rules, and they're completely decoupled. And this is these are all the rules you need to play. You don't need more rules. So you don't need the giant books of, and they're small. Like it's like little bite-sized things. And I literally sat with my mom and we read through these to try to make them simple. So, and so it was mom approved, Mrs. Danna approved. But I've run a ton of sessions, and so like I played a ton of this game with my friends. I actually have a YouTube channel where I do these, but I don't know if anybody wants to see that. But like, here's like, here, let me show you my brother's character here. Da-da-da-da. So like, here's the character sheet. This is just with markdown and stuff, but this is what I'm modeling it after because I think it actually kind of works. But obviously, a lot of UI niceness and stuff. I want to condense these tables and make them look nice. So actually, that's an AI-generated image. It's like Henry Cavill plus, I forget, one other person, but that's his character. So, but yeah, I've played it a bunch. It's really fun. And the combat's the best part. The combat's the best part. It's a recursive combat loop. So like, yeah, so like if you, me, and him are in combat, and I'm the fastest, he's the second fastest, you're the slowest, you declare what you're going to do first, then he declares, then I declare, and I can interrupt you. And if you do it on a battle map, it's even better. It's so fun. Because the one thing is, it doesn't feel like a video game where you're whacking each other. It feels like a movie or a book, or like a movie fight scene or a book scene, where it's just this crazy, like, and you literally can't deal damage unless you narratively describe how you did damage. So like one of the big rules are injuries. There's no health. Because that whole narratively declarative, we offload as much as we possibly can to the narrative. Really, the last thing you want to be, like, I think keep the storytelling. The engine is only used for resolving and generating conflict. If I need to know which of us wins an arm wrestling contest or whatever, good. Otherwise, let's keep it narrative. Let's keep it flowing. Not too many rules. Any other questions? I'm sorry. Huh? It's Javk Wick here. It's just Javk Wick. It's the same thing as here. It's actually all one word. Any other questions? If not, oh yeah, sure.
Hold up.
This is, it just made me think of that as you were talking, and if you've thought about it, maybe we can talk afterwards, but let's say you like playing solo sometimes, and you're using a thing, I started talking about it, like Mythic. Mm-hmm. Could you, you know Mythic? You know what I'm talking about? It's like a semi-auto game master. It's like yeah.
Well, so it's like is it using AI at all?
No, right? So that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah,
it doesn't use AI, and it's very manual, right? So you adjust the preferences that you have, but presumably you could have it do something like this, where it reads everyone's character sheet and customizes all the roles and all the
I love the way you're
choices.
thinking. I've thought of this exact thing, and like I want it, and that's the thing. Like the cool thing is also by kind of offloading a ton to the narrative, theoretically a large language model could, like I'm hoping, because I'm the forever narrator in my group, I never get to play. So forever you people out there that are the players that never play, like run your games through DMs, you guys are the worst. But like yeah, so like I would, because I mean to be honest, I just want to play. It's like. It's more fun to be the player, right? It's more fun to experience the world and to actually get to the stakes. Like, that's the whole reason we do this, is to have fun with our friends. And I'm assuming the people in here kind of understand that, like, if you can get a good group of people, get some snacks, and you do these stories, and you've played 10, 20 sessions or whatever, and one of your friends dies, and you're like, I've had one of my players cry. Like, I've done that before, and I almost cried, and it was like, I remember, so it's a worthwhile experience, but yes, that would be awesome if we could do AI tooling and to run the game for us. I think that's probably inevitable, so cool. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you guys very much for being so good.